Hey guys, what's up? Corey from TechInform.us, and today I really wanted to talk a little bit about Android and how it's kind of like Windows. Now, in my opinion, Android is kind of like Windows in the way that an Android user will never admit that Android is not as good as iOS. Just like a Windows user will never admit that Windows is not as good as OS X. Now, I'm not saying it is better, but OS X users and iOS users, they can look past the difference in the OSs, and they can see that Android is a good OS and Windows is a good OS. Windows has its places, Android has its places, iOS has its places, Mac OS X has its places. Every operating system in this world has its place, and I think it's just frustrating that Windows users and Android users cannot see past that barrier and see that OS X and iOS are good operating systems. Now, I really wanted to talk about how Android is kind of like Windows, and that's just one of the terms. They kind of have the same user base. The user that wants to customize the OS, the user that wants not necessarily the easiest functionality in the operating system, but full customization. They can do whatever they want. They can insert skins without jailbreaking. They can do whatever they want to it, basically. The carriers can do whatever they want, just like any PC manufacturer can do whatever they want to Windows 7. They can do whatever they want. They can do whatever they want to the PC. They have control. They have complete control over it. Google Android has no control over it. They supply the base thing, and they don't have any control over it. Hundreds and maybe even 1,000. I think it's still in the hundreds, but it's gonna be 1,000 soon. Different Android handsets have been released over the past 2 years. It's insane. And how many iPhones have been released over the last 2 years? Two iPhones. That's the thing. Apple has complete control over iOS and the full functionality, the feel, everything. You know it's gonna work. When you go into the Apple App Store and you buy a game for $5, you know that game is gonna run on that device perfectly. You know that game is gonna do what it's supposed to do. If it's Angry Birds, you know it's gonna work. You know, if it's a racing game, you know you're gonna be able to turn your wheel and the car is gonna go right, not left. You know what I mean? In the Android marketplace, sure, the apps are there, but there's so many different devices and there's so much different hardware involved that when the devs are developing these apps for the Android marketplace, they run into some issues, and the apps don't always work as planned. Let's just say you have a Google Nexus 1 and you have a Evo 4G. They're completely different types of phones, and I'm not sure they even run on the same type of Android OS. I don't think they do. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about Android, but I'm just giving my opinion as an iOS and Mac OS X user and Windows user. I still use Windows for certain things, but I am mainly running OS X and iOS. My point is, not everything might work on the Evo 4G like the Nexus 1 works. The Nexus 1 could work completely. The accelerometer, even the screen brightness, everything could just work perfectly, multi-touch, everything. On the Evo 4G, it could work terribly, you know. For instance, if you're in a racing game, like I said, turn right, it goes left, something like that. And you would have no control over it. $5 out the window, buy a Nexus 1 if you want the game to work. And that's one of the issues with Android. The devs and Google really doesn't have control over it, and that's one of the issues of it. But that's kind of like what Microsoft decided with Windows. They didn't want complete control over it, because that would be like a dictatorship, and it'd be like Apple. Apple's good in a lot of ways, but that's one of the issues with them. They provide great software, great hardware to run that software, but sometimes they're just too closed. Sometimes they don't allow enough change. Sometimes they don't allow enough third-party companies to get in there and design stuff for them. But on the other hand, it's one of the good things about Apple, exclusivity. So that's just my thoughts. That's a few reasons, 2 or 3 I already named, why I think Android is kind of like Windows and the users are kind of the same, and how it's kind of like a split group now. You know, Android might have more market share in the future, and I know it will, but iOS is kind of a premium OS. You know, it's for premium users. It's for users that want it to work. It's for users that want no hassle. You don't quite as much, you don't quite as much customization. You don't have all the stuff you can do. But on the other hand, you don't have the simplicity on the Android side. You don't have, you know, like I said, you buy an app for $5-10, you don't know if you wasted that $5 or $10 until it's downloaded and it works. You know, you just gotta wait it out and see if it works. So that's the video. I don't really have anything else to say. Hope you guys understood what I said. It's kind of late at night. Ravens just won the game in overtime. It's a crazy ass game. I can't even believe they won. Thanks for all the support, the love, the respect, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Follow me on Twitter for exclusive content, twitter.com/gold4595, and subscribe to me on YouTube, youtube.com/gold4595. Thanks guys, see you in tomorrow's video. Peace out.